What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall market and how this may affect NIO as I do some in-depth technical analysis. Now, before I break anything down and talk about why on earth we do have a bit of a bullish potential for NIO, at least temporarily for the super short term, before we do see a big reversal, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and into the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just one day. Today's the last day to sign up before they run out. You'll also have $0 commission trading if you do simply sign up. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. I also want to apologize before I start. Just one last thing. I want to apologize because I am recording this and uploading this very late, and that's because of the fact that where I am, there's a massive storm, and the storm is actually causing some power outages. It's not like super extreme though, even though there is a state of emergency. It's not super extreme. We're not seeing like a tornado or like a hurricane or anything like that. It's just heavy rain, lots of wind, and flooding. So I'm going to be completely fine. There may be some power outages here and there, but other than that, I'm going to be fine. For tomorrow and for Friday, I may have to record the videos at this time again because of the issues. But don't worry, guys, because things will be back to normal very soon. All right, in just a couple of days, by Saturday, Sunday, and beyond, I'll start recording these and uploading these videos at the normal times. So nothing to worry about. I'm going to be fine. So anyways, talking about NIO, what's going on? Why did NIO pop the way it did? And here's the answer. The reason why NIO popped is because of the deliveries report. NIO wanted to pop yesterday, but the whole market, we saw SPY come down in a very crazy way. We saw this big pump followed by this big drop. And this selling pressure did actually end up bringing NIO kind of red. And remember, NIO was not super red. It was just barely closing red. It held up very well. And now that the market finally got a slight pump, the buyers came in and they helped NIO. I wouldn't say it was like a squeeze, but it was a little bit like it. But it was more like more buying pressure that came in with the higher volume we saw, and very nice volume in the very beginning of the day before NIO hit its peak around 11:30. So NIO actually made a pretty decent move. But what do I see from here? Now, the reason why NIO made a nice move is we got 15,000 deliveries for December, totaling over 40,000 deliveries for Q4, beating expectations by some margin. NIO did well. I was very impressed by them, by what the team accomplished despite the lockdowns, despite the slowing demand. So now I want to break down what's going to happen to NIO most likely over the next couple of days. Now, what I see in the market is the fact that we could actually do a comparison between NIO and SPY. I know that NIO does not run perfectly with SPY, but if you put them next to one another, the collective market tends to be represented by SPY, and that could actually help us understand NIO. And I want to actually break that down. So look at this price action right here. You guys could quite clearly see we have this one peak, a bit of a drop, peak and a bit of a drop. SPY got a small push up, came down a little bit. NIO got a bigger push up, then it came down a bit, but NIO showed more strength because of deliveries. So it really shows us how similar and how NIO tends to be affected in these patterns. Look at SPY right here. December 14th is when SPY was at 408, I believe. Yeah, 405. Sorry, 405. And this was right before that FOMC meeting when Jerome Powell was speaking, before the big drop started, especially the day after. What happened on December 14th to NIO? You guys could see NIO was already starting to sell off. NIO got a pop on that day, like right here. NIO was around the 12 range. As SPY came crashing down, what did NIO also happen to do? NIO also happened to crash down. It also was affected by Tesla and other factors, but obviously the market tends to run very similarly. NIO tends to be affected as because of the fact that it has a positive beta positive beta. So anyways, what does this all mean for the future? And that's why I want to transition your attention to SPY and break down how this may affect NIO. So in this video, I'm going to primarily focus on technical analysis. That's the reason why I won't be talking as much about like other pieces of data and stuff. But anyways, looking at SPY, let's actually break down what we're seeing right here. The first possibility is on the hourly, we may be respecting this bear flag like setup. Could we come down and then get a nice push up back to this 388 level? This would suggest that Friday is going to be the last day. Maybe we go a little higher, maybe 389-ish, 390 maybe, before we see a big reversal. Maybe 390 is going to be the top. However, there's another possibility, and that's the fact that you could argue that we were also respecting this is like a pennant like pattern that looked like this, and we also got a breakout out of this pennant like this. Now, could I promise you that this is what happened? No, but in that case, we could be, holding up and maybe pushing up a little bit more back to 390, maybe a little bit higher, 395 or so, until CPI day. So that's leading me to think, okay, there's going to be a small push up in the market. We're already seeing it. Why are we seeing it? Because when you look at the MACD on the hourly, we have bullish divergence that formed. Look at the MACD, look at the histograms back here and compare it to this one right here. Look at how right here we have this divergence that formed. Look at how we made this new low on SPY right here. The new low came, MACD did the opposite, right? This is a divergence. It was a bullish divergence, suggesting that 374 was the bottom, the temporary bottom for a slight push-up. But this tells me that it's not the final bottom, okay? So what that means is, see how 374 is the temporary bottom and we are starting to push up off of it? Well, I believe we're going to continue to push up just a little bit more, and this is going to be the last push before the crash, okay? And whether we go to 388 and then crash, or if we go to 390 and then crash, I don't know exactly when this crash is going to start. It's either going to start next week, in my opinion, or, well, it most likely will start next week, either on Monday or by Thursday off CPI. It's got to be one of those days, in my opinion. We should peak between 388 to 390, maybe a little higher. It could go a little higher because on the daily, this is a trend I showed you guys, the 20 moving average, right? This tends to get retested during these big bear phases. Look at the blue line getting retested right here. We broke a little bit above it before getting a big rejection. The blue line right here, this was around 405. We actually pushed to 408 before coming down. And then if we look at, hold on, right here, the blue line is at, that's the 20 moving average, 386, 387-ish. So maybe we push to 390, exactly $3 above it before we crash. Maybe we go a little higher, who knows? But I do anticipate we're getting very close to the top. We're getting closer to it before the big crash. What does this all mean for NIO? What this tells me is, well, I can't really give you guys a perfect answer about where NIO's top will be. What I can tell you is, if the market continues to hold up, if the market continues to push, NIO did fill the gap here, so it might kind of flag around here. It might get like a bull flag that forms. It may come down a little bit more, maybe retraced about 10.5 or so, but it could actually bounce and try to push back to the 11 or so range. You could see NIO trade sideways in the 11s and maybe go a little higher. Maybe we get to the high 11s, who knows? But I do see it potentially coming down a bit, getting a bounce, and then hitting the 11s just temporarily, not forever, before it reverses and starts tumbling down. I believe it should start tumbling down either on the 9th of January or maybe trade sideways, or the 12th of January will trigger the big reversal. It's got to be one of those, and we're actually pretty close to that. We're about a week away from the CPI report. It's actually going to come out before the market opens, which means before market open on the 12th, that could be the trigger for a big drop to the downside. It's a possibility. Okay, so I just wanted to put this out there. Please don't take this as financial advice, but I do anticipate some potentially NIO to come down, maybe get some bullish price action right after, maybe go back to the 11s or so before the big reversal, before the crash starts. Okay, when is the crash going to start? I don't know. Nobody knows. But I believe it's very likely the crash will start next week, either on Monday or maybe on Thursday off CPI. That could be it. If we rally going into CPI, when does that ever end well? That tends to not work well typically. All right. We tend to see a big reversal off that. Look at the last CPI report, just to give you guys some context. The crash that we saw started off with the CPI report. I'm sure you guys remember that, right? That's when we established that high before we got a big rejection. I think that was like right here on the 13th, right before the FOMC meeting. Yeah, I think it was like right here. So this was CPI. This is what established the top. And then this big downtrend was triggered by CPI. Maybe that's what's going to happen again. We gap up during it, then we just start crashing. Really could happen, all right? Please be ready. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Please have a great, great, great night. For NIO, I do anticipate this thing to come down a little bit, retrace a bit. Once it retraces, it should get a bounce and then push back to the 11s. Where could it retrace to? Maybe the mid $10 range, maybe a little bit lower. And then when she bounces, we should come back to this 10.8 to 11.5 range. Maybe go a little higher, maybe hit the high 11s, trade a little bit sideways, and then reverse right back down. Whether it's the market that causes this, whether it's some other catalyst, it's most likely going to be very, very affected by the markets. So please remain calm, cool, and collected. Anyways, thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of the day. Stay safe, stay dry, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.